Okay, so now for the next segment of spiritual awakenings. I hope that you understood from the last segment, the first segment, what a spiritual awakening is and how it begins and where it comes from. And now I want to talk to you about the symptoms of a spiritual awakening. So I had to write a list of the different symptoms because there's so many different symptoms and everyone is different. It all depends on where you are on your journey. Some will feel it more intensely than others. It all depends on where you are on your spiritual journey. So some of the spiritual awakening symptoms that you will undergo. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to have a cup of coffee because there's a lot of throat chakras that need to be cleared. This is where we need to start journaling and expressing and communicating truthfully all the things that we need to express. We don't want to hold on to any of it. So clear. And you might feel as I'm talking to you, your throat clearing as well, because I do transmute energy. So a lot of times when I'm speaking to a person, whether physically, in person, through remote, virtually, whatever it is, I can activate a lot of throat clearing, and that just means we're releasing and clearing blocks that you're holding on to. And blocks, if you've watched other videos of mine, blocks usually are just emotions that we are holding on to. Energy blocks are emotions that we are holding on to that we have never released. Okay? So, again, if you are being activated to clear your throat as I speak to you, please allow yourself to do it. Okay? Don't hold on to it. Let it come through. Because again, I transmute energy, so you may feel the effects of the energy being transmuted. And it may even show up as just feeling sad, right? Clearing, throat clearing. You might even feel some anxiety in your chest. And again, it's just, that's how I transmute energy, whether you are right here in person, virtually, remotely, whichever way. All right. So I apologize if that happens, but it's a good thing. And you might even feel afterwards your throat feeling sore. Okay. So just drink anything that is going to soothe it. Tea, anything warm that's going to help soothe it. Okay. Like I'm drinking coffee to help soothe all of this that I'm pulling out of all of you. Or transmuting, I should say. Okay. Now, I hope that you found the last segment informational and hope that it resonated with you to some extent. So let's talk about some of these symptoms that you might be experiencing during the spiritual awakening that you may be going through. Okay, so some of the things that you may be experiencing during the spiritual awakening is you may feel disconnected or detached. You might feel confused, frustrated, sad. You may just start crying out of nowhere, get very emotional. And again, there's a lot of emotions that come up when we're going through a spiritual awakening. Things will start surfacing for you from your past. Memories will start surfacing from you. We get to this place of allowing all of this stuff. Well, we have to allow all of this stuff to come through, And like I said, if you feel like you have to go to the doctors and get checked, then do so, okay? Because I'm not diagnosing. I can't diagnose any medical issues, okay? It's, to me, a lot of times, even when we're going through a spiritual awakening and we do go to a doctor, we will find that we go to the doctor and the doctor can't find anything wrong with you. So usually, again, these are just energetic blocks that are trying to come up to be released. So they may not find anything wrong with you. I also find that when we're going through a spiritual awakening too, we may get a lot of headaches, right? And you're going through a spiritual awakening with the headache that shows up, usually it's focused right in the center or on the top of your head. If you take aspirin and it doesn't go away, that is part of your spiritual awakening, right? It's your third eye and crown chakra opening. So a lot of times when we're going through these symptoms and we're experiencing these symptoms, we can take, any kind of painkiller to try to make that discomfort go away, but the discomfort doesn't go away because it's not meant to go away, because your body, mind, and spirit has to process it. You have to be able to let it process and come through. Okay, and it's going to show up in physical discomforts. Our sleep will get disrupted. So again, when we're shifting in going through these awakenings and we're shifting into a higher, vibration and consciousness, our physical bodies need to catch up, right? So we need to allow ourselves to go through the process of letting our body catch up. You may start to experience a lot of solar plexus problems. So in your stomach area, digestion, you might find that there's foods that you no longer want to eat. You may find there's foods that you want to eat that you normally don't eat. You may find yourself not having an appetite. You may find yourself having an appetite, right? Everyone is different. It all depends on what is going on with you and what you need to go through to get through your spiritual awakening, right? So these are a lot of the different things that you can experience during a spiritual awakening. Also, with a spiritual awakening, we feel very confused. We'll feel like we forgot things or just can't get ourselves to focus. And again, a spiritual awakening, if you really want to look at it, is this, okay? Everything that we have known up to this point that has served whatever purpose it needed to serve in our lives, whether it is people, places, things, whatever it is, when we're going through a spiritual awakening, it's because we are at a place, again, where we're getting ready to evolve. So all of those things and all of those experiences from the past are no longer going to be in alignment with us. And that's where the spiritual awakening brings up. And during the spiritual awakening is when you will be presented with this information. These things will come through. You'll start to find that you can't be around negativity. You can't be around negative people. And if you are, you'll become overly sensitive, or especially empaths. You'll take that energy on. And then what happens is it creates resistance, or it delays the spiritual awakening to a certain extent. You're still going to go through it, but if you resist it, it's going to pull you back, and then you're just going to have to repeat it again. Okay, so be aware of who you're around. Okay, situations, people, things, all these different types of stuff that you will be presented and challenged with. Be very careful with it, especially when you're going through a spiritual awakening, because we're super sensitive. And our body's really trying to purge a lot of stuff. And that means purging people, places, and things as well. Because a lot of that stuff, those people are not meant to go with us. They served whatever purpose they needed to serve. And you're going to find, again, and we've talked about this, on other videos, you're going to find you're not even going to want to be around that type of energy as you continue to awaken, because it's going to be hard enough going through the awakening. So you will find yourself or needing to be in isolation, needing to be away from everyone. Okay, and that's okay. You need to allow yourself to do that so that you can process, so that you can purge, so that you can let go of this stuff. It's very important to drink a lot of water and to get a lot of rest when we're going through a spiritual awakening. But yes, confusion is very common when we are going through an awakening. Because again, and this is the way I describe it from when I went through a lot, I've been through a lot of spiritual awakenings, but I'm at the place now where I completely understand all of it. I feel like I'm almost at the final step, the final place, getting to it, right? So that's why I'm here to share all of this with you, because I've been there many times. But with the confusion, it's almost like your brain stops working. It can't register what's going on. You become forgetful, confused, right? And I always look at it this way. It's the way the divine works, the universe works. It's kind of like we got to wipe those parts of you out. Like it's like wiping out a memory, wiping out the memory of the old version of yourself so that you can make space to create the new part of you. So we will get these points, we will get in these places where we feel completely confused, you know, even like time seems different. It's either going too fast or it's going too slow. It's like there's so many changes that we're going through when we're going through a spiritual awakening. And the most important thing to remember is just to be gentle with yourself. Just be gentle with yourself. So let's see, what are some other things before I keep going on and on and on? A lot of times, like, when I start channeling, it's more information that needs to come through. So let's see. So other symptoms that you might experience during a spiritual awakening is you will feel disconnected or detached, okay, from things and people that you were used to, as I was saying earlier. So again, those people, places, jobs, situations that you were always used to, you find that you want to detach from them, move away from them. And it's not to say they're bad people. It's just now your soul is evolving to a whole nother level. So what your soul is going to be needing is to be around more people who are at the same vibration as you are going in, right? To match, to make you feel comfortable, to get through it. So being around the old that is not growing or evolving, it's very hard for us to be there in that energy, if that makes sense. And like I said, we all go through spiritual awakenings at some point in our life, right? So those people that you have to detach yourself from, they're going to get there at some point. It may not be this lifetime, it may be the next lifetime. But as you're going through your awakening, you need to allow yourself to be removed from that, because that is going to delay it as well. And it's going to pull you back where you no longer need to be. And I know I've talked about this before. Sometimes you still have to get pulled back so that you can see it for yourself, right? So you will feel disconnected and detached from things and people that you were used to. Okay, you can also find that you're going through a shift in spirituality. So what you once were programmed to believe about religions, and there's nothing against religions, okay, because everybody has their own beliefs. Everyone is comforted in whatever way they're comforted. So it's not about religion not being good for you or not. Okay, it's nothing to do about religion. The spirituality, as I always tell people, it's just a different understanding, a different belief system. And I always say spirituality, really, to me, what it represents is the belief in yourself, right? All the things you've gone through and believing in yourself, right? Connecting to that part of you. So you may find your spiritual beliefs may start to shift and change about the religions that you've been always used to. Just put my glasses on so I can read a little bit better. Okay? You may find that you want to start to reevaluate your beliefs. Okay? Dreams are more vivid. And even in our waking life, seeing things more clearly, more vivid, it all is also another form of symptom that you may experience. A lot of times, I know whenever I've gone through spiritual awakenings, tower moments, whatever you want to call them, I remember once I got through the darkness of it and came out of the other end, everything seemed more vivid and clear. Even the sky and the grass and the trees and the animals. It's almost if like you're shifted more into the present moment when you're going through an awakening. It's like you just see things that you've never seen before that have always been there. So perception begins to change, okay? And that's beautiful because that's where you want to be. You want to be in that place of being present with everything that's showing up for you, because you're going to be able to see it, what it really represents, okay? So again, you may have vivid dreams. You may have, in your awakened life, find everything to be more vivid and clear than it's ever been before, all right? You start to see a lot of synchronicities and deja vu. You may be somewhere and feel like you've been there before, right? Or certain people or information starts showing up in your reality to make you aware of what's going on with you, right? Or maybe a question that you're asking, all of a sudden there's a synchronicity that or a message or whatever shows up for you to help you understand what it is. Everything shifts when we're going through an awakening, okay? Your intuition becomes more heightened, and that's where a lot of times we get the headaches and the expansion of our crown chakra. It's because we're lining up with the higher frequencies, higher consciousness, opening up our intuition, and we all are intuitive. We all have gifts. It just shows itself at different, at different stages in our life, or different spiritual awakenings. When we're going through spiritual awakenings, our birthright, our gifts and things that we've been born with become more clear to us. We just become more intuitive, and all of our gifts start to show up for us, whether it's claircognizance, clairaudience, mediumship, whatever it is. There's so many different clairs, and some people have them all, and some people have different parts of those. So you may hear clearer. You may see clearly. You may just know things. As an empath, we feel things so much more than we would have before. So this is why I'm saying, when we're going through a spiritual awakening, everything is expanding within ourselves. And if you're already an empath, you are already sensitive to energy. But when you're going through a spiritual awakening, you become even more sensitive. So it's even more important for you to be aware of who you share your energy with, who you're around, because it can affect you as far as your awakening goes, okay? Whether it delays it or whether it makes it more complicated, okay? Or not complicated, but more challenging, okay? So be very aware of all of these things that are going on with you when you're going through a spiritual awakening. So newly heightened intuition, as I was saying, we just expand. We start to receive this inner knowing information, that just shows up from nowhere. We connect more to the universe, to the divine. Again, this is where the spirituality comes in. We want to learn more about spirituality. We want to learn more about the things that most people don't talk about, right? The unseen. We want to understand everything. We want to understand everything and make sense of it, even to the point of understanding what really is a spiritual awakening. Like, I need to understand what this is. So we'll find ourselves reading more, or information comes in for us, or we come across people who all of a sudden start talking about things that you're thinking about. So our intuition becomes heightened during a period of spiritual awakening. You're going to, as I was saying earlier, because you're going through an awakening now, everything's expanding, okay? You are going to sense inauthentic and manipulative energies, okay? You're going to sense them immediately. You're going to know immediately if someone is lying, if they're manipulating you, or if they're inauthentic. Because again, everything is expanding because we're connecting more to who we really are. So perception becomes more clear. The way we feel the energy, especially as empaths, we can feel it and just know, okay? So just recognize that as well. It's important. You're going to, and honor it, okay? If you feel like you can't be around these manipulating type people or inauthentic people, then you have to distance yourself temporarily from them, okay? Because it can affect your spiritual awakening, all right? You don't have to stop having anything to do with them, but you need to set healthier boundaries, knowing when I'm going. I know when I was going through all of my awakenings, I just wanted to be in isolation and by myself. Like I just needed to process. And actually, that's probably the best thing to do when you're going through it, is just to be with yourself and allowing all of that stuff to happen. And, let yourself go through it, because we need to be in that place where there's no distractions and no disturbances so that we can allow the process. And the process will go a lot smoother, even though it's going to be rough when we're going through it. It is going to be you're going to go through it smoother because you don't have distractions and things pulling you away. Okay, let's see what else happens. What other symptoms can we expect? That again, everyone is different, so you're all going to expect either experience everything I'm telling you, or some of the things that I'm telling you, you may find yourself going through. Okay, so you will feel alone, right? A lot of times when we're going through a spiritual awakening, we feel alone because nothing really makes sense. And we can't really explain it to anyone because not everyone is going to fully understand what you are going through. So what happens? We feel alone. So we feel like we're going through it by ourselves. And again, that's not a bad thing because I feel like we need to do that to really connect with those parts of us that are trying to come up to show us what we need to change within ourselves. What needs to purge, that needs to be purged so we can go to the next level, right? Or the next stage, whatever you want to refer to it as. Okay. Let's see, what else? You'll feel a lot more connected to. So again, you have to go through the darkness and all of your shadow parts and connect to all of that. But once you go through it, at the end, you start to feel more connected. Connect to yourself. Just connected. Everything makes more sense to us. You may have bodily sensations, which we were talking about earlier, and heightened awareness. Sleep disturbances. So what's some of the bodily sensations? An upset stomach, feeling anxious, feeling like your throat is hurting you, coughing, clearing your throat, headaches, nausea, aches and pains in our body and our joints, just feeling super tired and fatigued. It's all part of the awakening, because when we're feeling fatigued, they need us to lay down. That's the divine way of saying, okay, let's just rest so we can allow all of this to go through our physical body. Because again, it has to come through our physical body. So it's important to even be careful with what you eat. Water is very important. Try to detox, try to eat healthy. I know it's not easy to do. I can tell you that that's not easy thing to do, but sometimes you will feel guided to do it. Exercise, go for walks, be with nature. You're going to find you're going to want to be out in nature because it's just very grounding. And we need to be grounded when we're going through this experience, because it can be like a roller coaster ride. So we need to put into practice walking, being out in nature, connecting with ourselves, meditating, journaling, being mindful. So mindfulness, all of these things are going to help us to get through these symptoms and these changes that we are going through, because we're evolving. We are evolving, loves, and we are meant to evolve. We need to evolve. Our soul needs to evolve because we have to get back to that twinkling star that we are. That source energy, unconditional love, who we are. So we need to go through all of these shifts and changes to get there. And then when we get to the end of it all, now we can share those experiences with other people to help them get through what they need to get through and understand what they need to get through. So physical symptoms, I was saying, fatigue, brain fog, a lot of brain fog. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting Alzheimer's, because my brain just freezes. I'm in a fog. I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. So that is all part of the awakening process as well. Because like I said earlier, I look at it this way. It's like, okay, we are cleaning out your hard drive, your memory. We're getting rid of all of those things because they no longer serve you anymore. You accomplished what you needed to accomplish, and it served what it needed to serve. So we no longer need to take that with us. So we have to create a brain fog to release it, so that we can bring in new memories and new things in the new version that we're trying to create. By going through this spiritual awakening. You may find that also change in habit. You might find that what you've always done that's been a habit or a routine starts to change, because a lot of times it's all about change. So those habits and those routines, all those things that we've done and put into play don't work for us anymore. They serve their purpose. So now we're trying to be more trusting, and just allowing. And yeah, we can use the routines, but we don't let it control our lives. Because once we go through the awakening, we get to a place of like trusting now and allowing everything to unfold as it is meant to unfold. And you will get to a place of trusting the process of this awakening and these changes that you're going through when you start to see that the things that you allowed yourself to process and go through have all worked out for you. You have gotten through. This is when we start to trust the universe, because now we're like, okay, we got through it. It didn't end our lives, right? We're still alive, but we're just in a more improved version of ourselves now, the new improved version of who we really are. Okay. So these are just some of the things that we can go through during an awakening, symptoms that you can experience. You're going to also find yourself more compassionate too through this process. And the most important thing is because we have to be gentle with ourselves, and being gentle with ourselves, we're allowing ourselves to be compassionate with ourselves. So when you are compassionate with yourselves, you tend to find yourself being compassionate with others because of the roller coaster ride you just went through. You have to be gentle with yourself, right? You have to be okay, and you're going to be, at the end of it, you will be. So again, loves, we have to go through these spiritual awakenings, and they will happen at times in our lives when there is trauma or major changes, because those major changes are representing for us a time to let go of what was so that we can move on with what is meant for us, right? So the only way we can do that is by letting go of all of these things. So when we go through those changes, those major changes, that is the beginning to shifting our energies now and going through what we need to go through to get to that place of being in balance with yourself. So I hope that helped you to some extent. I hope that it resonated with you and helped you to feel a little bit more at ease with a spiritual awakening, what it represents, and what are some of the symptoms that you may go through. Okay? Again, be gentle with yourself. It's all part of the process. We need to awaken to who we truly are. So we need to go through the shifts and the changes to remember. All right. So that is the second segment of what we are talking about in spiritual awakenings. And I'm going to start breaking down the phases now, the different phases that you may find yourself going through. And, some people say there's 7 phases, 8 phases, 5 phases. Again, it's all up to you and what you're going through and how you're experiencing it. Sometimes people can go through 1, 2, 3 phases all in one shot, 4, 5, 6 in another shot. So it all depends on how far you have come in your own evolution, or where you are in your life. That will determine what phases you will have to experience. So that is the next segment we will be talking about, the different phases.